seeing those boys up there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, last time I've heard of Appalachian State is that big old upset when they had Michigan about 10, 15.
They weren't even Division I then.
No.
But,
the time possession for Appalachian State was over 35 minutes.
Yep.
Monroe, 24 minutes. Total yards, 270 for Appalachian State, 102 from Monroe. But
what? I got 572 yards for Appalachian State, 213.
Well, for total.
Yeah, total yards.
Yeah.
But right here, what I seen was Louisiana Monroe was only 2-13 on third down conversions. And Appalachian State was 13 of 18. That's pretty salty right there.
Mm-hmm.
My golly. And the yards rushing, 302 to 111. 5.8 yards a carry for Appalachian State.
Wow.
And then, ULM shot themselves with 9 penalties too. But that defense, boy, that's pretty impressive, holding those boys to 2 of 13 on third down. You're not going to win many games doing that.
Yeah, over the first quarter, they outscored Appalachian State 21-7, rather, and that was it for that was all the points they had from Monroe. Was the first quarter. That was it. So
they were done after that. It was church after the first quarter.
Yeah. So what other game?
How about Minnesota? They just popped up into the top 25 last week. Let's talk about their thrilling game with Rutgers.
Sounds good.
Minnesota thrashed those boys from Rutgers 42-7, and Rodney Smith ran for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the number 20 Minnesota Golden Gophers improved to 7-0 for the first time since winning the national title in 1960.
Wow, I wasn't even.
I wasn't born either.
Okay.
Wow. This is the first. Oh man.
Is this when Hayden Fox was the coach? I mean, also that's Minnesota State. But how many people went to the game?
Man, to see this, I mean, it's a road game. So
yeah, about 26,000 to go to Rutgers. Rutgers just not having a good year. They're down to 1-6. Interim coach in there. But man, Minnesota, no one's talking about them. 7-0 in that division.
Yeah, Big Ten team, undefeated.
And just.
Let's take a look at it. First quarter right off the bat. Rodney Smith had a 3-yard run to put the Gophers up 7-0. Then the second quarter, Rashad Bateman had a 13-yard pass from Tanner Morgan to go up 14-0. Then Rodney Smith had another touchdown run, 16-yarder, put them up 21-0. And then the fourth quarter, Muhammad Ibrahim, 6-yard run, 28-0. Then Antoine Winfield Jr., 33-yard interception return, put them up 35-0. And then 9:03 left fourth quarter, Tyler Johnson had a 56-yard pass from Tanner Morgan to go up 42-0. And then with 5:53 left in the fourth, Rutgers got on the board with K'Ron Adams at a 5-yard touchdown run, make it 42-7. But man, that's a pretty cool stat there. 7-0 for the first time since 1960.
You know what the funny thing is about this game is, yes, Minnesota had the time of possession, but total drives, Minnesota had 10, Rutgers had 12. Total plays, 77 from Minnesota, 59 for Rutgers.
The boys were scoring quick from long distance.
Yes. Average yard per play, 6.1 from Minnesota, 3.2.
Yeah.
Total passing yards, 245 to 48.
Well, they were averaging 8.8 yards a pass. 3 interceptions thrown by Rutgers. That hurt them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Man. So Rutgers had 3 turnovers. They really didn't help themselves. But, yeah, looking at that, they were third down efficiency. Minnesota was 50% on third down, and they were 2 for 3. So on fourth down. Okay. But to hold a team to 48 yards passing is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and the thing is, like once the weather changes in Minnesota, the Minnesota doesn't play and they play outdoors. I mean, it's
Right,
not like
it's supposed to be.
yeah, it's not like a
That,
dome or nothing like
they
this.
used to play in that old ragged dome of theirs. Now they're outside.
Yep,
Like
and
the Vikings used to be at Metropolitan Stadium.
yeah, so it's great to see Minnesota up. You like to hear that and Appalachian State doing so good. What's another team we want to talk about?
Well, let's talk about the Baylor Bears because they had a big showdown with Oklahoma State. You know all the weapons that Oklahoma State brings to the party. I mean, nation's leading rusher and Chuba Hubbard and Tillum Wallace, the wide receiver. And I mean, so those as good at skill position guys as anybody in the country. So bringing those boys to town is always a tough row to hoe. So so Baylor traveled to Stillwater to play these boys and Oklahoma State. And Charlie Brewer, he completed 13 of 17 passes for Baylor for 312 yards and a touchdown and ran for another score as Baylor beat Oklahoma State 45-27, extended its school record winning streak to 9 games because, it rolled over from last year.
Right.
But, yeah, it's exciting to see Baylor doing so well. I mean, Coach Matt Rule really has them performing at a high level. And like I said, when we start talking about this, when you play Oklahoma State and their weapons, let's just look. The leading rusher in the nation, Chuba Hubbard, 32 carries, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tillum Wallace, 6 receptions, 69 yards. And then there's Spencer Sanders, their freshman quarterback, was 18 of 32, 157 for 1 TD and 1 pick. But Charlie Brewer, he was a story for Baylor, their quarterback. He was 13 of 17, man. That's impressive as all get out. Hasty was their leading rusher, 16 carries, 146 yards, 2 TDs. And then Fleeks was the leading receiver, 3 catches for 126. But this was, a high-scoring game. I mean, John Lovett started it off for Baylor with a 25-yard run. And then Jordan McCray had a 5-yard pass from Sanders to make it 7-6. Attempt was blocked. And then Chuba Hubbard had his 2-yard run. And then so Oklahoma State went up 13-7. Then John Mayers hit a 28-yard field goal to bring Baylor within 10-13. And then at the start of the third quarter, Chuba Hubbard had a 3-yard run to put Oklahoma State up 20-7. And I was watching this, I'm like, golly, man, they're going to upset these boys. Mm-hmm. And then Jermichael Hasty had a 5-yard run to bring Baylor within 17-20. And then Josh Fleeks for Baylor had a 64-yard pass from Charlie Brewer to go up 24-20. And then fourth quarter, Brown had a 68-yard run to put Oklahoma State ahead 27-24. And then Charlie Brewer had a 2-yard run to go up 31-27. And then with 8 minutes left, Terrell Bernard had a 20-yard fumble return for Baylor, put them up 38-27. And then with 5:13 left, Jermichael Hasty for Baylor had a 73-yard run. I remember watching that, and I'm like, "Whoop, that's it. That's the that made it church right there, man." That was an exciting game. Just a lot of skill position talent out there for both teams. But first downs, I mean, Oklahoma State had 27 first downs. Baylor only had 18.
Wow, and then you look at, but here's interesting, the total plays, 54-86.
Yeah, playing keep away from the
yeah.
Third down efficiency, Baylor was only 3 of 9. I mean, that ain't very good, man. 33%. Then Oklahoma State was 6 of 17, so they were less than 50%. The total yards were pretty close. I mean, Oklahoma State had 469 yards, and Baylor had 536. The passing yards is where Baylor piled it on them, 312 to 188. Man, 13 to 17. That's impressive. Think about that. The yards per pass for Baylor, you want to hear what it was?
What?
18.4. Oklahoma State's 5.2. I mean, Baylor was throwing the ball down the field. And Baylor didn't have an interception, and Oklahoma State did. Rushing yards, 224 for Baylor, which was good. But Oklahoma State, you knew they were going to have a lot with 281. Yards per carry, Baylor 6.1. Oklahoma State 5.6. Penalties were close, 7 penalties for 66 yards for Baylor. Oklahoma State 8 for 92. They're always kind of an undisciplined team. Then, of course, Oklahoma State had the 3 turnovers, so that was a big thing. But congratulations to Matt Rule and Baylor. That's a big win.
Mm-hmm.
Keep extending their winning streak.
Yep, 7-0, and Oklahoma State 4-3.
Yep.
What other game we got coming up?
Let's talk about the game you went to. Let's talk about SMU and Temple.
Yeah, this game I actually went to got the privilege to go to at Temple and SMU, and it's been a while since I went to an SMU game, and man, the fans are fired up, and I was the fortunate one to sit on the visitor side of Temple, so
yeah,
they were fired up. Temple was fired up till about halftime, and then that was about. SMU scored so many points. They shoot fireworks off every time. They ran out of fireworks to shoot. And so this game was filled to capacity, 23,000 people in that little stadium.
Little Ford Stadium right there. I've been to it. It's a nice stadium. It's just little.
Mm-hmm. Got a nice little suntan through the game.
Yeah,
But
it was a beautiful day out there.
Yep. I mean, it's just... Boucher would do 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was a career high for him. He set a career high with 6 touchdowns and 457 yards. So 7-0, and man, that's just kudos to them to Sonny Dykes and his team. They're just slowly coming back. I mean, they're not in a Power 5 conference, but they keep getting these transfer quarterbacks in. From Texas keeps feeding quarterbacks. They might be able to sustain this for a while. I mean, because the offense they run is obviously very quarterback friendly. But this one was pretty much done by the halftime.
I mean, you got Robertson 8 catches, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Well, he destroyed those guys. When they try every cornerback they had over
there,
they beat them all.
And the funny thing is, last touchdown, you could just tell that the Temple guy gave up like at the 20s, like
he just quit running.
And you see it in his face, because we're pretty close. His face is like, nope, don't try no more.
But he literally beat every cornerback they had. They scored touchdowns on 3 different corners.
Yep,
3 or 4.
And then it was kind of funny that the Temple was getting kind of snippy, kind of doing some stupid penalties at the end, and they were like on the 7-yard line, and half a distance, and the referees are kind of looking at each other like, what are we? Yeah. What's that right here? And then they scored, but
they had 7 penalties for 74 yards.
Yeah, so Temple wasn't even in this game. Temple just
SMU. All right, let's start. Temple had 273 total yards. SMU had 655. Dang, that's incredible. 457 yards passing to 204, and yards per pass. I mean, SMU was chunking it. Their average pass was 8.5 yards. Rushing, SMU throttled them. They only had 69 yards rushing, Temple did, and SMU had 198. They had 55 attempts that, so they were only averaging 3.6 yards a carry, but they just kept doing it so you couldn't just tee off on them. And Temple, they ran the ball 33 times, but they only had 2.1 yards per carry. Each team had 1 turnover, but it was just SMU was all over them from the jump street.
And I forgot that they were actually Temple was ranked. So this was the first ranked teams to play SMU for a very long time. Well, I was misinformed. When we went to the game, they're saying this is a top 25 versus SMU first division game. I mean, top game at SMU for a long time, and that was misleading. I was just giving that.
You were misinformed, sir.
So,
let's go out west and talk about the Oregon Ducks facing off against number 25 Washington Huskies.
Well, this game, Oregon going to Washington. The Huskies lost by 4. Oregon Ducks moved up to